Hi. So one of the main topics that interests me throughout this course was when we were talking about the indigenous movements and the missing and murdered women. So when we were reading through and doing the lectures, the stats said that in Canada between 1980 and 2012, indigenous women represented 16% of female homicides, but only 4% of the total population, and that was almost 7 times higher homicide rates than other ethnic groups that were out there. And it said in the U.S., 1 in 3 Native women are sexually assaulted. Um, and so this interests me in the topic because I think this is something that we can all advocate for, and that indigenous people are all around us and we don't even realize it. I recently just got my DNA tested, and so for me, I'm starting to pay so much more attention to people that don't look white or considered like a certain race. So for me, I look white, but once I got my DNA back, I'm actually um, not even half. So I think it's just so crazy. And so now I'm starting to pay more attention to those people that are around me, especially since I'm a woman. That's just something that I feel like I can advocate for within my daily life, such as like posting on social media, um, maybe hanging up signs, or just talking about it with people when I'm having like an educated conversation with those that are around me. And so um, I also think it's important with this as well because when you take into consideration the crime that people talk about, they always act like indigenous peoples are the ones who are doing the crime when really in reality they're the ones who are the victim in the situation, and we just kind of overlook it. So I think that educating myself more on this topic has helped me understand other people a little bit better and advocate for those around me who don't necessarily get a voice to say. And I think that's important, especially even as a woman, to um, advocate for those around me who can't advocate for themselves. And then also going by some of the movements that are going on today, I thought this was just particularly useful to know these statistics as well, which helps my understanding. And then if I know these, I can like tell them to other people, so then that they can have a voice. Since it says that the people that whose crimes these are committed against rarely are investigated at the same level as other people who are not indigenous. Another topic that was really of interest to me was the art and culture topic, because my entire life I've just been really interested in art. I'm really artsy and artistic, and so is my mom, and so that's how me and her kind of bond. Um, really, my whole family is really artistic. One of the things that I've learned to incorporate in my daily life is that art comes in all shapes and forms, and I hadn't really considered that maybe art wasn't just drawing or painting or interior design, the things that were of interest to me, but that art really is cultural and that it's different to everybody. And I guess, taken into consideration music and things like that. I know that it is an art. I play piano. Um, I sometimes sing. I know how to play the clarinet. I used to play the violin. So I knew that basically that like art came in different shapes and forms, but I never really thought about how different ethnicities and different cultures use art and how it differs from how I use art. And so especially in the middle of a pandemic, I've kind of incorporated that by paying attention to literature and in my other classes, by reading literature from people who do come from different cultures than me. It's really opened my eyes up to things that I never really thought about before. Um, and that, even how so simple art can be sometimes, how beautiful it really is, because it's something that we're creating, it's something that brings us together. And it even says it's a manifestations of human creativity, and that's just a beautiful thing, especially the fact that in the middle of a global pandemic, you've noticed that art has came more and more into play, and a lot of people are starting to learn how to paint, they're renovating their houses, they're creating music. I think that's just such a beautiful thing, and so I've incorporated a little bit more in my daily life, learned about others around me by reading different literature that I wouldn't think about, or paying attention to different pieces of art that I haven't really thought about before, because art really is all around us. And then lastly, the topic that I feel pretty confident in talking about and was of highly interest to me was one of the first lectures that we did about colonialism and that whole aspect. As I was going through that first discussion and the second one that we did, my eyes were like really, really opened to things that I had just really not thought about before. I thought that I was pretty cultured. I would say that I'm pretty cultured, but I think that the ideas of colonialism I just hadn't really thought about before, and I just think it's crazy. And so it's really challenged me to quit looking at things that maybe I thought were a little weird and just embrace it in others around me, and to not judge based on other people's cultural background and just really let people be who they are. And then going back to the discussion that we did about colonialism, one of the questions that was asked, I believe it talked a little bit about how can you decolonize in your own life. And I just remember I was so proud about what I wrote, and I really felt like challenged as a first year college student um, about decolonizing in my own life. And so just about how I can be more open to other people's ideas, not making judgments based on people I don't know, and I shouldn't judge other people's standards based on my standards, on my own culture, and just by those around me, because although I have been out of the country and things like that, I think we all have a little bit of the colonization in us. And so it really, really opened my eyes to things that I just never really thought about before, and how even within my own life, within myself, I'm so colonized. And so I feel like I've been tearing down some of those walls, and I've started to embrace myself and where I come from, and having communion with those around me, and let them have their culture, and we can live in harmony together, because that is so special. And I think that's what makes the United States, is we should be open, and we're just a big melting pot. So yeah, thank you.